So I'm a newbie, clearly, because this is my trio, and I'm terrorized to be here. So, hi. I'm gonna make I would like to know your name. I know Margot, Lorenza, Loretta,
Andy.
Akbal.
Ian.
Hello, it's Asha. Liz. Tanya.
Zaki.
Evie,
Emmett.
Mikey.
Natasha.
Hello. Okay. Thank you for all your names. I will need to remember it, which I am. Right. So when I came in, we were talking about gender issues, homosexuality. I find it quite interesting because when I was coming here, I thought, okay, I'm gonna dress all in pink because I dressed like sportwear all week. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna just do something because it's really cold today. And then I was like, okay, there's something I wouldn't do in France at all, and I feel more comfortable in here, like wearing whatever I want. And I was thinking, what do you think about like just women dressing like with sparkles and glitter? And do you think it's fine?
Well, I mean, I think talking about privilege, I think there is a privilege to being in London because I'm actually from a town out there on the estuary, Gravesend. Where's Akbal? He's gone now. But anyway, he's from there as well. And even just the difference of coming into London, people are a lot more accepting, and that in itself is a privilege that you can be who you want to be. I think here in London, much more so than even 30 kilometres in this direction.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Sin Margot first, I think.
Yeah, I definitely feel that, and I think the degree of being accepted how you are is just so important for how people feel. I know that whenever I go back to Poland, I just feel stressed, and I don't even have to be like actively annoyed by someone in particular. It's just like the general kind of like, you know, it just like really kills me. So I really appreciate then being in London, and then obviously people get a whiff of like, oh, she's not from here, oh, fucking stuck up bitch. Anyway, so it's like you can never win, but yeah, that's why I love London.
Yeah, so the multiculturality and just the fact that there is just quite a big tolerance, I think. What do you think? Sorry.
So I'm going to throw a spanner in the works because I think we're all just snowflakes and we're too touchy and we take offence to too much, and that's the problem. And so now everything you say, someone's offended, and I think we just need to toughen up a bit.
That's actually super interesting. It's a very, very interesting opinion. What do you think about this? Actually, over tolerance.
No, I'm just going to say something for the sake of it.
That's all right. Go for it.
Since I've found out that there's somebody from Gravesend in the building, I feel more privileged. I feel more important just being here. So my self-esteem has gone through the roof. So
that's perfect. Actually, I get that. What did you wanted to say earlier? Are you sure? So we're talking about. Is there some tolerance, or is there over tolerance, or maybe because some people of importance are living in your area?
So what I mean, for me, I just don't really. I think I agree with you a little bit in a way that it's just, you know, if you want to dress how you want to dress like that. If you don't, then don't. And I find very often, I mean, also when I go back home, I'm obviously the one who's not from there, but I've never really experienced that it bothers me that much because I'm just I just dress how I want, I have my hair how I want, I have whatever how I want it anyway. It might not be that extreme, but you know, whatever. I don't get the point either. Because I think I'm probably quite tolerant. If you were wearing glitter, I would be thinking, yeah, she's wearing glitter. I mean, it might be. I might be a bit taken back if you had like a unicorn stuck out of your forehead, and I'd be like, ah.
What about for yourself?
What about you? If you had
exactly. Yeah.
And I went, why are you wearing that?
No, I would be saying like, oh, because it's just like, whatever. I wouldn't be bothered because I would think if I put a unicorn on my forehead, it is because I want to provoke something. I want to provoke a reaction because I want to be out of the norm. The same if I want to wear high heels or if I want to wear very showing much of cleavage or whatever. This is what I want to show, and in the best case, I'll get some attention for it. But then, you know, you just also need to basically just accept that is positive. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Thank you for this two dialogue construction. Yes.
I just wanted to ask a question about so Liz, and this idea that people are too touchy. Like, are there sort of specific examples of like what kind of thing are you thinking of, for example?
So what would be too much? Or?
So what I mean is, for instance, if someone's wearing a sparkly top and then is insulted when someone mentions that, oh, that's a bit bright, or if someone's wearing a unicorn horn on their head and then someone comments about it, what are you doing to me? Sorry.
Like in Chinese.
But also, it goes down to the gender conversation you were having. You know, I think we're just getting to the point where no one's allowed to have an opinion because everyone gets insulted. And I think the media feeds on that. And so now we've got people that, as this lady said, wants attention for whatever they're doing, but then doesn't like the attention if it's not what they were looking for. And so then they get insulted, then that person who had the opinion is wrong. You know, so we're not allowed to say what we feel anymore, which is rubbish in my opinion.
So, no, yeah, go on.
Well, I mean, what you're saying there leads on to something that has happened in the last 20 years where all of a sudden, with the internet, we are hearing 1 million times more opinions than we used to hear. And for thousands of years, we've just heard the opinions of 100 people who happen to live in the same town or village, and now we're hearing billions of people's opinions, and that's offending us because the majority agree with us, and then another majority to sort of say, no, I completely disagree with you. And I think that the only winner in that situation is those who say the most offensive things and the loudest. The ones with, and that's the way that's the way the internet has developed so far.
Yeah.
And I hope it will change in the future to a better place where people can have more of a democratic conversation. But at the moment, it seems like it's just like we're being bombarded with opinions, and it's only the ones who shout the loudest who are heard, and the ones who say the most offensive things, and that's my point basically.
Yeah, that's more basically people can receive it more because like everybody can comment and like this is forever, and you can not that much, not in that way. Yeah, I think it's exposure. There's like broader and it's problematic. I think, but it's changing. I think for the good way as well. For
Is it changing?
yeah.
When the internet started, the idea was that it was going to be a democratic forum for everybody to have great opinions, but it is in principle, but it seems like it's at the moment being dominated by the loud vitriolic people, and that's not the future I want to see the world.
Right.
You know, but
So which future do you would like?
Just like for this, because you were saying about only the loudest one gets heard, but it's also when you think of all of these social networks that we do communicate with each other, be it Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. You do surround yourself with your friends or with your followers or whatever, and they all seem to be the same people. Like obviously in a global world. But it's the same people that you would talk to in the village. If you're like, if you're right wing, if you're left wing, if you're gay, if you're pro-life, if you're pro-abortion or whatever it is, you will still only be with those people that are exactly your opinion. And if it's like 10,000s or whatever, it's just still, I think it's still going to be you, and it's still going to be you regardless of how many other people share your opinion.
The way that's worked out, because sorry, that I mean, sorry, mate. I think the way that's worked out is it's worked out by algorithms, and it's worked out by a very. I don't trust the way that happens, because it's if you like this, you like this. If you like that, you like this, and it's rejecting conversation. It's saying it's pushing you in the area of people who are like you, to the point where you are like them, but you are not like them. And I would like the world to be a bit more grey area. I would like it to be where if you disagree with someone, at least you can have a conversation with them. And the way it works, the internet works, it seems like you are like this guy in Portland, Oregon. You are like this guy in Buenos Aires. You've got so much in common, and you are not like these other people, and it's a bit antagonistic.
Feed.
Yeah, maybe not to them. Okay, let's have an opinion of somebody that is.
I was just thinking earlier, is this what cancel culture is? When someone does something bad online and then everyone immediately shuns them? And should we be more like understanding? But then if I'm more understanding of the person who's been cancelled, am I just agreeing with them?
Yeah, it's a good point.
I think certain algorithms work in different ways. So I think Facebook and so on seem to put like-minded people together, whereas my news feed from Google is mostly Daily Express and Daily Mail and the Sun, and obviously I get the Guardian and I get other things as well. But it seems to be a much more rounded picture. Maybe because I don't mind looking at things that I don't agree with, but I'd like to have that kind of rounded thing. And maybe Google have got it right and all the others have got it wrong. I don't know.
Right? Okay.
I'm changing the subject altogether. You know, one thing, we've had gay pride, didn't we? Everyone's got gay pride. Everyone's got gay pride month. Why can't we have straight pride?
No.
A day for straight people, right? And what days?
Right. Does somebody have an answer for why is there no straight prides?
Yeah, I think we have 11 months of the year of that. I think, and we had 2,000 years of it before that. But the thing is, I'd like to come back to what you said earlier. About people getting offended. Now you have to stand up for everyone's right to take offence. Everyone has the right to take offence for anything they like. Some people may get offended by gay pride. That's their choice. But offence is always taken. It's not given. Offence is only ever taken.
Come on, right. He's say what he's going to say as well.
So, about the offence for not being in gay pride, or all right.
Well, I think Danny's got a point, because for me, and I'll be honest here, I learnt more about my sexuality as a heterosexual man from the gay people, because they, back in the day, this is 20 years ago, they had to examine what it meant to be gay, whereas a straight person just walks through life just being normal and not really examining who they are sexually, or what they're attracted, what makes up their sexuality, what it actually means. But the gays have to do that because it's outside of the norm. So I think it would be good if straight men actually examine what it was to be a straight man, rather than just going along with it, because you could easily walk through life without ever questioning what your sexuality is. So I think it's a really good idea, the straight pride.
So yeah, the gay people, let's say, also, because it's quite important, I think, to name people in the right way.
Well, I'll come back. I'm not talking about the gays. The people saying that they take something offense, something they're not taking affection. Some people they can talk. They say, I know a lot of things now. They complaining. If you call me, I am black and I'm Somali. Yeah. If you don't know me, my name, you can say that Somali lady. Yeah. It's not bad thing. That's where I come from. But the people saying it, but some people what they're saying it, but it's what we're not mistaking it. It's some people if you be honest and you don't want to hate nobody, whatever come out your mouth, it's an honesty thing, and it can be little. But some people hate the people, and they cannot talk and stand up themselves saying it. Oh, you should have said that to me. You should have said that to me. It's everybody's a different what they are. But now what we saying it. It's a lot of people milking it, races or that. It's too much. It's everybody can have an opinion. If I can say to you, Liz, she's my best friend. If I can say her, if I don't know her, or white person, I say white person, yeah? I don't mean I don't mean bad things, but if I'm racist, when I hate that person, it's a different story. But when you honestly, sometimes something come out of your mouth, be mistake, and you don't mean say that word, and people taking it. Oh,
It's only racist if you let it get you.
get you.
You're giving that power.
Sorry, so going back to the gay pride,
Any power.
I don't even think we should have gay pride. We shouldn't have gay pride because why do we have to celebrate differences? Why can't we all just... There shouldn't be any celebrations. There should just be, we are who we are.
So it's a pride. So it's a matter of celebrating something that is shameful. Some people feeling that. So this is why it's a pride.
So that's about being offended again. We're creating our
I think it's about mental health. Sort of. Right, it's not me. Sorry. No opinion. Yeah, right.
I was going to so many things. Mikey's point earlier about going to gay pride as a straight person, then maybe discovering more about your sexuality. I don't know if that's a straight pride kind of event you're thinking of. I think that's more of a community event where people. I think it's good to have like a time when you can celebrate. Oh, like we've had some struggles to get here, and now we're out, and then this is great. And I think there's also like it would be a good time to like actually get more people involved as well. So like I think you want like a community exchange is what you want.
Okay, so in community exchange, and do we have other opinions?
I think it's a great opportunity for corporate advertising. So.
Okay, advertising.
I think the whole thing about celebrating, I think it's quite important that we do celebrate. And I think these things like pride or all of these fancy, colorful, joyful things, they do very much replace like older traditional Christian celebrations, for example. When you think of Christmas, Easter, all of these things that bring us together for celebrating something. And I think historically it's been very based on religion, and I think as we as a society go away from religion a bit more and just like trying to part this to this. So I think
half of the problem is that we're going away from religion. That's half of the problem.
Here we go.
But sorry, just going back to that with the pride, why is it though that people who are straight feel the need to go along and dress in certain colours to show that they support? Why? Surely just going along and having a celebration together shows support, but people feel obliged to paint their faces and wear bright colours because otherwise they might be objecting. We're creating a society of judgment. We watch the telly, we judge. We go on the internet, we judge. You know, and if we don't want to seem judgmental, we've got to try and fit in. And that's where all the problems lie. Going back to your religion, that's where community broke down. When people stepped away from religion, communities broke down. And that, well, okay, you can have the mic in a minute. But when everyone used to go to their, whichever religion they were, on a regular basis, they met together, you had community people looking after each other. No one knows their neighbour anymore, no one's looking out for the old girl who no one's seen. There's no communities.
Right, so some communities, but other than religious community, what do you think?
Well, I think, we're talking about, let's put categories like gay pride, Black History Month, all these International Women's Day. I think not to celebrate these days is to forget the struggle that these particular groups went through to actually achieve what our friend over there called normal. Because we've all gone around being normal, but what is normal? I really question that word. Yeah. So yeah, especially in I won't put category above other categories, but let's take Black history. History has always been written by white slave owners, middle class, that sort of thing. Doesn't reflect the true nature of history. Gay pride. If you look look at what's his name, the writer. Who was Marquis of Queensberry, Oscar Wilde. the guy was a genius, he was persecuted because he was gay, or homosexual as he would have been called in them days. So there's a huge history of discrimination against particular groups that are now achieving normality, but want to celebrate where they've come from rather than where they're going to. So they're achieving that identity in the teeth of adversity.
Right, thank you very much. Any word?
Thank you. I feel like I feel like I've reached
Birthday pride! Birthday pride!
Beautiful, that's amazing. During the Talkaoke, we also celebrate birthdays of very important people because everybody is important. Beautiful. Yes, we have a word.
Can I come back to that point that was made just a minute or so ago? The idea that religion organizes things and gives us a sense of moral stratification in society. It comes back to the classic statement about when Moses was given the Ten Commandments. Did we not know before that marrying, you should not commit adultery, you should not do this, you should not do that, and the other? Did we not know before that, without being told by a God, that was wrong, that was censored? Did we not know that? We knew that for thousands of years prior to that it was just fundamentally wrong for us to do that, because if you do that, you're going to piss somebody off. So humans don't do it. So the idea that we have to get our ideas of how things happen, how our morals, things like that, from a higher force instructing us, I fundamentally disagree with. Because I think we've been around a lot longer than that and we learned that ourselves. So.
Yeah, so that's very interesting on that point of religion. And what about Mikey?
Moses comes down from the mountain. He says, "There's good news and bad news. Good news is I've got it down to 10. Bad news is adultery's still in." But I do think that. I mean, I'm not a religious person, but I do think that the churches have got something, which is this sense of community and gathering people together. And we, in the secular world, we sort of lack the rituals that the religious people have got. So we kind of thrown the baby out with the holy water, so to speak.
Yes. Go for it. First time?
But I guess coming back to you, Mikey, can you still have those rituals without religion? I'm thinking about, choral singing, for example, and... Pardon? Just prayer. Do you want to...
Yeah, but I think stuff like, the rituals in life, it just helps you become that person you are, and it helps shape that future. And religion itself is just, some people are born into it, like you could be maybe 10 years a Christian and maybe just convert to Buddhism. It's just a life choice, isn't it? That's what I think.
Yeah, just as after marrying somebody can say he's gay, it's just a choice as well.
Sorry, I don't want to dominate the mic here, but I think the problem of the last 300 years is that we've had the concept of atheism. Since the Enlightenment, since the 1700s, 1730, whatever date you want to put on it, we've had this concept, and it hasn't done enough yet. It hasn't replaced what we've had for thousands of years with religion. Religion gives a warm feeling. It gives you a sense of coherence throughout all your life, from cradle to grave. Community, sense of morals, sense of right and wrong, all of those things. And atheism has had 300 years to try, plus science, as the two things that form the modern world, and it hasn't convinced enough people yet. And I think that's where we are today, and that's why religion is still convincing.
Yeah, so there is religion and science, and what do you think? We have science
things and then... Oh, no, I just say, in some ways, does that make us not come full circle back to Pride? So the argument is, like, people don't have community, people don't have, like, systems that look after each other. Great, like, Pride is a way that people have a way of celebrating, coming together and creating their own communities in a structure, and they, like, you have, like, slang, you have different languages, you have different, like, sections, and, like, it's the same thing.
So, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I just want to, as a religious person myself, I'm a Christian, I just want to disperse this myth that having religion is a nice warm feeling, like they crucified Christ. Okay, there are big decisions to be made. People sometimes don't like you because you're Christian. Some people don't like what you say because you seek to tell the truth as you see it. So it's not a cushy life being Christian. You don't go around just being warm and glowy. I love this guy's point about the Ten Commandments because that's something that interests me. So do we have this inbuilt feeling of being good people? Because you could point at times when people were being slaughtered for the sake of it, and ritual, perhaps in religion as well. So most of the law nowadays is enshrined around the Ten Commandments: stealing, killing, that kind of thing. And it's this thought of inherent good in people. We're born into a system that says what's good or bad. Would we have got there without the Ten Commandments? I don't know. Thomas Hobbes said that we need to have a king or a queen so they could make the rules. Otherwise we'd be at each other's throats and life would be brutish and short. So I don't know.
Yeah, wolf against the wolf. That's a very interesting opposition on religion, I guess.
We kind of have that in the internet and comments. We don't have a king, and people are at each other's throats in a way, and not necessarily because they just disagree with somebody. There are people that are nihilists that want just to blow up the world. Yeah, just have an argument for the sake of having an argument.
No, there's not.
No, exactly.
No, there's not. I just want to go on the point of the atheist, because not everyone around the table is religious. I'm also atheist, but I learned something just in the idea store. I was doing Talkaoke in the idea store, and somebody said to me, "Oh, do you believe in God?" And I said no, and I had all these Somali kids around the table, and their dads came and just took them all away and said, "No, well, you're not talking to this guy because he's an atheist." But what I came to realise is it's not about, atheist is a bad word, because it's not talking about what you do believe in, it's talking about what you don't believe in. So when people now ask me my religion, I say I believe in people and their power of their imagination. Because I think that's a better way to describe it than saying I don't believe in God. It's what you do believe in, it's not what you don't believe in.
Very quickly, I'm an atheist as well, Mikey, but I really respect the fact that 2,000 years ago, the European Judeo civilization was on a precipice. It either chose Jesus or it chose Mithras, who was a god, a soldier god. And his ritual was jumping on a bull and sticking a knife in it and killing it, whereas Jesus' ritual was baptize, forgive your neighbour, do the best for everybody else. And the last 2,000 years have been a much better place because we adopted Christianity compared to what we could have adopted with all that sort of stuff. So I understand how Christianity is, as a secular force in society, has made the world a good place. It's had some bad points around about the 13th century when Catholicism got a bit corrupt. It was bad then. But I understand that the world's a better place because of that. But as an atheist, I would like to think that the best points of all the best movements we've had for 100,000 years can one day come to reach a point where we can be friends to all of us on this planet without a supernatural being telling us what's right or wrong, just knowing it ourselves. And I would like to think we're heading towards that point. I don't know whether we are or not, but that's why I'm an atheist. So.
Okay, thank you very much.
That kind of ignores a very, very large chunk of the world. in terms of, you know, the Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, and Asia. Almost all of. Oh no, absolutely. But obviously before Jesus and before just arguably Moses and all of those, Hinduism existed, and Buddhism existed soon after that. And Buddhism's been around at least as long as Christianity, if not longer. And it's you know, those are faiths that haven't in themselves created warfare. No Buddhist nation has gone to war with another nation, regardless of whether it's a Buddhist nation or a Christian nation or an Islamic nation or whatever. And the same to some degree. I mean, India is a secular state, but India has gone to war with China and Pakistan and so on. And it hasn't been because of faith, it's been because of land. So it's a different kind of situation, I think.
Give me a gun and go and shoot them all.
Yeah, and with globalization, do you think it's changing?
No, but I just also think it's find it a bit strange to hear just like the world is a better place because of Christianity. Because I don't know. When you think of all of the world religions, it's basically all the same concepts. It's all about the golden rules, like treat everybody else as you would like to be treated yourself. So it's the same. You know, you think about Muslim. I mean, the first very close contact that I had with a Muslim family was when my friend and I, we traveled to Morocco, and we were taken on by a colleague's family, and they picked us up from the airport. We went to the wedding, and it was just like such an overwhelming, welcoming thing, and it reminded me of my own family, because my family is very welcoming, completely different religion, Christian. But it's just like the same thing. It's just like you treat somebody how you would like to be treated, and I think that are some values that are the same for everybody. So I don't know if it matters if it's Buddhism or if it's Taoism or Hinduism or Jewism or whatever it is. I think it's just that what everything just combines is just that you want to do good to people, because this is what you wanted for yourself as well.
Maybe.
Yeah, just a couple of things. One thing is, until recently, I would have agreed with you about Buddhist people, but many of the most recent genocides have been committed by ostensibly Buddhist peoples, whether in Sri Lanka or in Burma and places like this. The other thing is Christianity. It's not just the 13th century. There was also the Crusades, colonialism, invasion of Ireland, the colonialism of the world, the religious wars. So it's 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th century, until basically we stopped making Christianity that important. The other thing is about atheism, because I love the best thing about Christian service in particular is the singing together, the choral singing, and it's one reason why the South Place Ethical Society in Conway Hall has never taken off, because they don't sing together. The South Place Ethical Society in Conway Hall was set up in the 19th century as a place to go on a Sunday. If you didn't want to go to a religious place, you went there. But they don't sing together, so it's never really taken off. But the thing is, I used to call myself an atheist, and then I read a book called The God Delusion, and I realized, wait, what does God mean? Wait, because if you were brought up like Richard Dawkins, a really strict Christian, you can say, well, that God definitely doesn't exist. But I don't know whether or not Thor exists. Thor is like to the elemental aspect of like thunder and lightning and stuff. That does I've got no problem with that at all. And really, so after I read that book, I stopped calling myself an atheist and started calling myself an agnostic. If you tell me what you mean by God, I will say, well, my view is on what you've got to say. I don't have a fundamental belief in the non-existence of God. That would be like a belief system, and I'm against all belief. I think belief is the enemy of mankind.
Thank you. What do we believe in then?
Oh, what do I believe in?
What can we believe in?
I don't think I believe in the. I don't think I don't believe in the economy. I think that's something I fundamentally think we should maybe think less about. Someone told me the other day that you have like two types of society. You have one which is like profit driven and kind of like making, so trying to make more, trying to make like a surplus at the end of it. And then you have another one which is, I didn't want to call it more like motherhood because I was like, I disagree, but it was like, but it was the idea of there are systems that are chaotic and your like main goal is to control them. And I was like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. So rather than always being like, we need to make profit, it's we need to control and stabilize things. And I thought that was an interesting way of looking at the economy.
Yeah.
See everybody.
Yeah. I once stood for election. What?
Just gonna give her a final thought. Final thought.
What am I saying to you guys?
About gender.
I'll be careful what I say now. I'm going bad and I don't want to live with that. Good night and everybody enjoy it. It's my birthday yesterday.
Happy birthday.
Right. When I was at university, I stood for election to the post of president, and I stood on behalf of the Labour Party. And there was more than two people running, but two of them were independent. Okay, so the first independent came up and said, "I'm an independent," blah 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 blah. The second person came up who was an independent, and he said, "I just want to point out that I'm totally independent of the other independent." So where do you stand?
That is a good question. Does anybody have an answer for that? Very good question. A final word then.
Give me my phone there, behind you.
That's a very good answer. Okay. Do you want to swap? Thank you for having me and being tolerant with my very first steps. Thank you so much. Thank you for being tolerant.
Okay, yeah, huge round of applause for Hortense. We're going to have another face in the table now. We're going to have Evie. And if you want to see Evie for real, you can see her tomorrow at the Natural History Museum, where she's going to be conducting Talkaoke as part of Ladies' Night. Just spin around. Well done.
All right. Okay. All right. Oh, yeah. Lovely. Okay. I think we've got a new face in the middle, which means you are all become unknown to me. I have no idea who you are or what you're about to say, so I will have to start with a round of names, starting over here.
My name?
Yes,
Natasha.
what's your name, Dora? Natasha.
Loretta.
Andy.
Akbel. Will you play Anything by Queen for me, please?
Anything by Queen?
Yeah.
Is that a song, Anything by Queen? Or is it I'm not actually controlling the music.
I'm called Jed.
Liz.
Tanya.
Zaki.
Margot. I think we've got Emma over there. And then Emmett, fantastic.
Mikey.
Okay, and so we got a new person. So maybe we should have a new conversation on the table. What have we not talked about today? Like, what are people thinking about?
Mental health issues.
Mental health issues. Anyone want to start us off with mental health issues? Right, so,
Danny, it sounds like you almost want to be on the table.
yeah, come on.
I think to start off with mental health, there's one big thing crippling us today. Even with young people and old people nowadays, depression, that's a huge topic. Even in school, primary school, secondary school, university, everyone, not everyone necessarily, but like some people felt bullied in their life, and because of that depression, it just starts to build. And when they start to get older, that depression like forms like a huge cloud over them, and just like it can just mess them up. So depression's a huge topic, and I think it should be like stopped.
So depression's a big problem. We maybe need to be talking about it earlier, because otherwise it sort of sits on people and it stays with them.
Well, yesterday actually we were doing a mental health special in the Maudsley Hospital. It was a special. But one of the things that came up, I was really surprised at, is a lot of the young people are super anxious about climate change, to the point where it is actually upsetting them, to the point where they're, they can't go to, it affects their schoolwork, it affects their emotional, well-being, because they're so upset about climate change.
So you've got some people who are so worried about climate change, you've got mental health affecting them.
Yeah, that's the same with my boy. He's 9, and he is he's very, very clever, and he just goes on and thinks and thinks and thinks, and then sometimes he's very hidden back behind his shelf, but then he's just like, oh, mummy, and so it's just like, he's really freaking out because of the plastic and the turtles eating straws and having like all of these things, and he just thinks like he won't be able to breathe in 2, 3, 4 days because the atmosphere is going to collapse all over him. So he is in distress. So, and I remember when I was young, it was just like the whole Iraq thing was just like going on, and I was really worried that our local supermarket would be blowing off with my sister and my mom being there, and you don't understand how much it controls you, and it just really does.
Margot, over here.
It reminds me, I think things have just moved on, and I think when I was growing up, I used to have like panic attacks, like proper. I wouldn't be able like to breathe, and I think it was related to a war. And also what the priest said to, no, it wasn't a priest, it was the religious teacher, a religion teacher at school. We were 8 and he said to us like, so by the way, question to the room, when do you think the world is gonna end? And we were like, as you do. And then he said, no, wrong, it's ending in 3 years' time. Literally, it was between that. You could not, but you know something. Now I laugh about it, but at the time I was having complete like freakouts about it. That and the war.
So we've got climate change, war, child mental health.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I was absolutely obsessed with nuclear war, because that was what Akbar's the same age as me, so maybe, I don't know, maybe he relates, maybe he didn't give a shit. But I was really like obsessed. Every time I heard an aeroplane going over, I thought it was going to be a nuclear bomb coming to destroy us all.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go to Akbar and then over here.
So we went to school together. So I'm maybe a bit more of a nerd, and I think nuclear power is a really interesting thing. And I had diagrams of how a nuclear power station worked, and I thought nuclear power was a good thing from my perspective. Yes, fair enough. You could have, things would blow up, but then. Even when I was very young, I would kind of work the stats. So you know how many people will survive, the population will survive, it'll be okay. Even like with India and Pakistan a few years ago, there was this whole, they've all developed nuclear weapons. So, yeah, so 300 million people will die. It still leaves a billion and so on.
In your mind, you're always doing the stats. Natasha, I'm going to go over here. Natasha, yes?
Yes, Natasha. Because I think if you look at the kind of facts around climate change, then fear is actually really reasonable. It's like, I think that's a response that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe we should also be having a panic attack at work about climate change.
So bringing it a little bit back, because that's anxiety, which is a mental health condition. But with the mental health issue, I feel that we're discussing it all the time. We've got companies saying they're willing to listen, willing to understand, but I don't actually feel the support's there. I'm someone that suffers with mental health issues, and the stigma is still there. There is no understanding, really. It's all just You know, it's a big issue out there because people want to be seen as, but it's still a big fear. If someone's got mental health issues, they're shied away from. You know, it's still a big issue, and I don't think we understand it at all yet.
So we're talking about it a lot, but we don't really understand it.
Well, I want to just go back a little bit. One of my earliest memories, like in the midst of time, was being very depressed about the Cuban Missile Crisis. Remember being a small child, and the atmosphere with the adults, I remember very well that there was all this talk about nuclear war, and it was very, very close at the time, and I remember it was like as if somebody had said something wrong and everybody was kind of shying away from it, and it created its own atmosphere. Even for somebody who was only 5 or 6 years old, there was this, you wouldn't know, would you? There was this thing, too young, that was in the air and could possibly happen. And I always remember it as being a very depressing time as a child.
Margaret, you had a point.
Yeah, I think on a point that you made, I think you're right. There's a lot of talk about mental health, but there's still a lot of stigma, because I'm thinking about, you know, the working environments where it actually does matter for the economy, shall we say, if you miss out a day, or if there's nobody to pick up your work and you're just not able to step up that day because all sorts of things. And I think there's like, in a vacuum, it's like, oh yeah, we really have a lot of time for mental health, but we don't fully understand what that means, and we're not prepared to take consequences.
To have a day off because of your mental health still isn't okay. It's not understood. So if you've got a stomach bug, you can have a day off, no questions asked. But if you have a day off because you're struggling with your depression and you just can't get out of bed, that's not okay. So there's not an understanding.
No, I was just like talking about this the other day with people, and I just feel that if you come to a certain age, like in your 30s, in your 40s, maybe in your 50s, I think everybody comes to that point that they're struggling a lot with their mental health, both with mental health and just like physical health, and I think it all just goes hand in hand. And I personally don't think, I mean, if you can't get out of bed because you've got a bad tummy or because of whatever, if you feel hard done by the world, or you're depressed or whatever, nobody really has to know. You just tell everybody, I don't feel, well, not really, how is it, you're just telling them,
You shouldn't have to lie.
well, you can tell, but you can.
So we've got a bit of attention here about like whether does it count if you're ill because of mental health? Does it still count as a day off?
I think what you need to do is that you just go and just play the system. I think what you need to do, if you know that you're not, if in your workplace it's not acceptable that you are feeling bad,
so maybe
gets yourself better, and that's what counts for you in your case.
Okay, so do you look after yourself? Do you try and change the system? Natasha had a point over here, and then I think I was going to go to Ian, and then Liz.
Oh, yeah, so I think I was kind of really interested in what Liz was saying about stigma, and in my workplace they're trying to kind of address this a bit, but so they've kind of got this day which is like a time to talk day, and so like my department will be invited to go to a session to talk, but I'm like, I find that really hard. What would you be prepared to say to colleagues? Because I still sort of feel like I don't want to say I've had depression because obviously it's my career. Yeah.
Oh, Mike is making very weird noise.
I don't want to be flippant about this, and I don't want to be that guy that's gone one better than anyone else, but I usually say to people that I trust that I successfully committed suicide. And the reason I say this is that I attempted suicide, and I took, my father had a heart complaint and had lots of pills around the house, and usually very strong pills, because he had a heart complaint and lots of them would like to start his heart and that sort of thing, that he would take one off if totally necessary. And I remember coming home one night to my parents' house, and with a bottle of scotch, having drunk the scotch and taken roughly 40 of these pills, not expecting to wake up the next morning. I phoned the Samaritans. They don't intervene, they just listen, which is great. So I thought, well, I'll make sure, just to make sure, I asked them these pills, what are they, and I just want to make sure I've done a good job here. There was no note, there was no cry for help, it was just I was going to do it. And so they said, I'm sorry, we've got no clue what the pills are that you've taken. So fair enough, goodbye. Went to bed, not expecting to wake up. What I'd actually taken, my father had had his prescription changed the week before without my knowledge, and I'd taken about 40 or 50 Night-All, which is quite a mild sleeping tablet. So I woke up the next day shaking and shivering for like 3 or 4 days with the side effects, but I didn't die. And so yeah, I mean, I'm doing that in the spirit of openness, and and it's something I've been suicidal since then, and my workplace has helped me, and I've seen counsellors about that, but it's not actually on my list of priorities now. But it wasn't a kind of sudden depression, the world is coming to an end. It was an endless drip, 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 when it just became an option. It was like, you know what, I now have the option to end it all, to sleep, perchance to dream, you know what I mean? Shall I to be or not to be? That kind of business. And I chose not to be, but sadly, that sounds terrible. Sadly, it didn't work out for me.
Well, thank you for sharing your story as well. I think it's very powerful. I'm going to go over to Mikey and then over to Liz.
I mean, I think this just goes to sort of like kind of disagree what Tanya is saying, because I think it is important to name it and to take it seriously as well. It's a bit like the whole Philip Schofield thing before. Like, I was in the middle, I couldn't say, but my feeling about Philip Schofield is that he was actually, as a famous person, he was letting down those other gay people that didn't have the power that he had by just denying his sexuality. And it's the same, I think, with mental health. If you've got the strength to talk about it, then we should actually be talking about it, because it is a pervading thing, and actually quite a lot of us probably around this room have been affected by people that either that have committed suicide or that have really lost their lives to depression. I think it is about time we opened up and started talking about it, and not just pretend we've got a stomach bug or whatever when we're feeling depressed.
And a point over here.
So just going on along with what Mikey was saying, I do think that there is an issue, because, for instance, I am not honest. So don't know if I should be saying this as it's being filmed, but I always say I'm not well, I've got a bad stomach or something, because I know I tried to be honest, and then you do get judged. You do get just take a day off, have a sleep, it'll all go away kind of scenario. It's not an understanding. Depression and anxiety, which is the two main things that I suffer with, they don't work that way. And Ian's description of drip, drip, drip is exactly what it's like. And there's a difference between being suicidal and committing suicide. Some people that are suicidal for their whole life never attempt to commit suicide, but they feel their life is worthless. Companies don't understand that. Like you say, it's a day and a colleague and an employee lost for the day or for the week, whichever. So the understanding isn't there. Although I do agree that as we get older, depression is a little bit more, but real mental health issues, I've had it since I was 15, actually does need to be understood in a much better way. Your physical health is no different from your mental health, but unfortunately it's not seen as a priority.
I had a response right over here.
Yeah, so that coming back to you, Mikey, when you say when people are strong enough and when they do can say something, they should. Yeah, but most of the case when you do have a health issue is that you are not strong enough. And I'm speaking like everybody probably, or most of the people here are speaking from experience, where you are suffering from being extremely vulnerable. I was in a situation where I was the sole breadwinner for very, very young children, had to go to work, was on a mental breakdown for months and months and months. And I did break down in the end. So I went proper panic attacks, nothing worked anymore. I couldn't get up off my chair anymore because it was just too much. Everything was just too much. But I could have saved myself, and I could have, because I lost that job then in the end, I could have saved everything if I had just told them, you know, I'm so ill, I need to take a week off or whatever, and that would have saved me, because I didn't have any understanding. When I came back to them, I said, I can't. Can I do half time? They're like, no, you can't. You need to quit or do full time, sort of thing. And these are the things you need to. I think this is also what you need to be clever about. That everybody suffers from a flu, from a depression, from an anxiety. The levels obviously differ. You know, as I agree with you, it's like suicide is different from committing suicide. Depression is different from feeling low. So that is all true. But in the end, it doesn't help. Because if you want to get out of it at the other end, you just need to get out of it, and that's what I'm saying. If this is what you need, if you need is that break and that time, then you just need to take it. If nobody accepts that you are anxious, then you just need to say, well, yeah, I've got a flu.
Okay, so I think there's some really good points there. I've got a response over here.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I went to St Leonard's Church in Shoreditch on Saturday, and it turns out that the St Leonard is the patron saint of mental health, which I hadn't realised, which is really great. It's a great thing to have a patron saint of. My favourite word in the world is called eunoia, E-U-N-O-I-A. A bit like paranoia, but U at the front instead of para. And it's got 5 different vowels, and it's only got 6 letters, and it means good mental health in Greek. But the other thing about eunoia, but St Leonard's Church on the 13th of March, and also on the 14th, but it's quite like Friday the 13th, they've got a performance of Macbeth by Anarchy Shakespeare in the church, in St Leonard's Church, 2 p.m. on Friday the 13th of March, or again on Saturday the 14th, to 2 performances.
Fantastic, and we should all know that Emma is being paid by St Leonard's Church. She's not, I'm joking.
I'm being paid by St Leonard. He wants us all to have good mental health.
I like that. Okay, so Leonard, mental health, Macbeth.
Last week I did a mental health first aid course training from work, and that was really interesting, and actually linking to a little bit to our previous conversation. Do we need a straight pride, you know, get over yourself, LGBTQ, blah blah blah, and snowflakes? And I think what transpired through fact in that training is that majority people who suffer from mental health are women, they are LGBT, they are BAME, and actually increasing a lot of children. And I think, you know, and we were talking a lot about, you know, what do we have in common? Like, you can just be yourself or whatever, you know. And I think mental health is one thing that I think just one of the things that we all share in common. But apropos of Shakespeare, changing the subject, apparently he didn't have an RP accent originally. He had some kind of like Midlands Brummie, Okay, it's just great.
So we've got mental health, we've got Shakespeare was a Brummie, we've got Mike, and then we've got Liz.
Well, I mean, just going on to Tanya's point, and I appreciate what you're saying, I think maybe we should be talking about mental strength rather than mental health, because it's a more positive idea, and you know, sometimes we don't have that mental strength, but you know, we're trying to develop the mental strength as we're trying to develop our physical strength as well.
Okay, so mental health versus mental strength. Liz, have you got any thoughts on that?
Well, I just want to say the statistics about women is because men won't open up. It's, you know, the reason why there's so many men suicides is because it's, you know, I've said it before in this Talkaoke, we bring boys up when they fall over and cry, stop being a girl. You know, we need to change the way men won't open up, and then you'll see that actually mental health is just as big in men, it's just they don't talk about it. As for building up our mental strength, if it was a simple case as that, we'd all do it. You know, we can't do weights in our mind.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think it's as simple as that. I've been having counselling for years, and I've done everything I can. It's not as simple as that. It's actually, it starts with understanding, and when people start to understand, we'll stop hiding, and then maybe we get stronger.
So maybe mental strength's the wrong word, because it kind of masks the issue.
I mean, I'm personally, I can't say that I have ever felt. I have a fairly positive mindset. So as far as climate change goes, I think there are solutions to climate change. and I think we will find them, whether that's simply because it's economically viable to do it, or whatever, because it's cheaper. You know, fossil fuels are more expensive now than renewable fuels, at least for energy generation, and in time we will find a solution. Now, it might be a bit late, but it's going to happen. And I do feel that when it comes to mental health, there is I mean, I don't really suffer from this, and it's quite hard for me to kind of empathise or understand, because I just genuinely think, well, do you know what? Life is good for most people, and even people that I know that suffer from mental health issues, their lives aren't bad. So I don't quite understand why they feel.
So maybe it's a communication problem that lots of people here maybe say, like, I understand, but if you don't have a way of understanding, it might be really difficult to talk to that. Hortense?
I think the question of mental health is not about having mental health or not. It's just like the health in general, like the body health, and everybody have it. And if, like, for example, I never go to the doctor for a checkup because I'm quite healthy physically, and people sometimes are very hypochondriacs and are gonna check all the time, and this is where they're gonna find stuff if they check. And I feel like I'm just like coming back to Liz said exactly what Liz said on, like, the men in our society still that is quite gendered are being told to man up when they're trying to express that they're uncomfortable, at the same time, which is obviously really wrong and evolving. At the same time, women in another way, I don't want to make black and white misconceptions, but sometimes they express more because they want to talk, and then they're being told that they're more vulnerable because people understand it as a vulnerability thing, which is also quite interesting thing that should stop or should evolve in another way.
So it's like a double-edged sword. You talk about your emotions, you're criticised. If you don't talk about your emotions, you're criticised. I said I was going to go to Ian and then Natasha.
Yeah, first of all, I want to echo what Liz said about mental health, not like going to a gym. So other people have super mental health, and then you have normal mental health, and then you have substandard mental health. Thing is, you said about empathy, of course you can't empathise. Nobody can empathise with anybody else because it takes a certain set of circumstances to get somebody to get to a certain stage where they even contemplate that. I didn't contemplate that because I thought the world was going to end. I felt that way because I felt my place in it was so insignificant that it wouldn't matter. So the kind of balance was that, do I stay or do I go? If I go, there will be trouble. If I stay, there will be double. You know what I mean? I didn't know. It made no odds to me whether I was here or not, because tomorrow they'll find someone else to fill my job. And actually, it's a bit hard living at the moment, so I might choose to just end it.
So it's incredibly hard to empathise with other people. Natasha, you had a point earlier. It may be there, it may have gone. Don't worry.
Yeah, the conversation's kind of moved on, but I think it's really interesting what you're saying about kind of about how it's hard to understand someone, to basically to walk in someone's shoes and understand their perspective. Yeah, well, but I guess I feel like sometimes when you really listen to someone, you do like learn about their experience, and I guess I do believe in empathy, and I kind of like flipping back to some of the conversation we had about like cultural differences and kind of racism and ethnicity and things. I think it would be great to bring some of that, the kind of idea of like trying to understand what it's like to walk in someone else's shoes, to that discussion. Like I kind of like, it's something I really try and be open to.
So we need more ways to experience how to be other people.
I mean, I think I just want to go on the men thing, because I do think that it is more likely men that will commit suicide. And my brother actually just came across somebody that tried to hang themselves a few months ago. And it was as a young man, especially younger men, that they've got a lot of expectations about them and they don't have the vocabulary. And certainly, I think it's somehow unnatural for young men to express a vulnerability or actually say things are going wrong when they are going wrong inside their heads. And I don't think it's anything about culture. I just think that's just how men, especially young men, are. But we need to give them some kind of platform to actually access help.
Yeah, young men's mental health. We've got a response over here.
I mean, I fully understand that a lot of there's a lot of young men and also like men, kind of middle-aged men who are taking their lives. That like it's something which I think needs to be recognised, but I don't think it's the only thing. And like, I mean, I recently started work somewhere, so I'm just meeting people there. And so there's someone who I don't know, but loads of my colleagues do know who took her life at the weekend. And I know that one thing she was like from a Bangladeshi background, and she had a lot of struggle with trying to fit in, like trying to be. Like she was bright, she'd been to Oxford, but she just always had this struggle of like trying to be someone else. She felt like she had to be someone else to succeed, and that was something that was very destructive. So I know that because she wrote about it a lot.
A point over here.
So about the whole thing, I think also when I forgot the gentleman's name who said that Ian, who unsuccessfully committed suicide. I'm just thinking also because I remember when I was in school still, and we were talking about all of the different philosophers, and one of the, I think it was Eurycles, I don't remember, but he was saying that his philosophy was that you need to try as much as you can. And if you simply can't succeed in life, you always have suicide as your last option. And that was like that was his solution to pain ending and the solution for things. And I think it's probably okay if people are really that unhappy with whatever. So it's just, I think it's difficult for those that stay behind. But I think it's, in general, it's a valid exit route. You know, if you really think that this is not where you want to be, and you want to go, then I think, then fine.
Do we agree?
I think we do agree with that because you know the thing. There's this charity called Campaign Against Living Miserably, and what they do is it's for men's mental health because nowadays there's more men getting diagnosed with mental health, but because you got this stereotype of a big manly man, got the muscles, all that testosterone and that masculinity and all that macho-ness, they just want to keep it in. But I think with men and their friends, by telling it to their friends, they're just telling them what their feelings are, it just helps them become a better person and just helps them grow.
I just kind of wondered whether it's ever possible to talk about mental health in a way that is entertaining. No, seriously, because I think it's a very important conversation, but I think the minute we start talking about it, and actually that's crazy because we all share experience of some kind of, mental health ailment or whatever. We all kind of get into it. It's like, oh, shit, this is so serious. It's like talking about death, and then maybe we're like past death, we're kind of like, we can find a funny thing about it, but I just don't know whether it's ever possible, or are we there yet to talk about mental health in a kind of like, in a lighter way? Because look at everybody's really, because it's a real experience for a lot of people, and it's very real. I don't know.
Okay, so Margaret thinks maybe we need to talk about mental health, but we need to make it more fun because it's important to talk about constantly. And then.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to make it fun. I just know that we were talking earlier about males, because until I haven't got the up-to-date figures, but I know a short while ago the leading cause of death amongst males under 40 was suicide. Now, part of this is because obviously in women, breast cancer and ovarian cancer things are such big killers, and they're not equivalent killers at that age range for men. But can I just say one thing about a friend?
Give me 1 minute. Final thought before you leave. We're going to put Emmett on pause. I press the pause button.
Yeah. If we're still on the subject of mental health, just be kind to yourself. If you feel in any way that you're not functioning as you should, and perhaps you have thoughts that are not the norm, then just try to understand where you're coming from on that, and take it, be stoic about it, if anything, and just give yourself a break.
Thank you very much, Ian. I'm going to have a round of applause as you leave. And then, Emma, we really interrupted you.
Yeah,
Thank you
so,
very much.
and before there was a young woman I knew who was just about to turn 20, and she killed herself by hanging in her parents' house. She'd just gone off to university. And I spoke to another woman about this next week, and she was about 23, 24, I don't know. And the next week she hanged herself as well. And I think this is like, because the thing is, one of the things is women make more attempts at suicide, but men make more successful suicides. And hanging is one of those ones where if you attempt it, you're quite likely to succeed it. And by mentioning it to her, I might have made her more likely to try a method that was more likely to be successful. Otherwise, she might have done this thing of taking an overdose or something, and there might have been a potential for saving her. And the problem is, I'm in lots of mental health groups and things, and I'm really worried about talking about this to people. I'm talking about it now and this guy on the internet and things, but what happens if I give someone else the insight to how they can make sure that they don't get stopped? It's like, it's really difficult to talk about these things, because how do I know I'm not making sure that one other person is successful? Another way of looking at this is that every time that someone takes an action and they succeed in it and they work, why can't we feel wonderful? Wow, they set out to do what they wanted to do and they succeeded, and we should all congratulate them on it.
I think that's an interesting point. So if we're talking about people dying by suicide, are we somehow enabling that?
It's not actually the most depressed people don't attempt suicide because they're too depressed and inactive to actually. It's normally when people start getting better that they then become more active and then think about things like, or if they're not quite down at that super depressed level. So it's interesting. Sometimes in actually helping someone become more active, you actually are increasing their chances of suicide. But I disagree with you, Emmett. I think in the end it's up to a person. You can't be responsible for another adult person if they attempt suicide. Obviously you want to try and stop them, but there's nothing really that you can do, and it's not your responsibility. Obviously you want to help, but you can't feel bad about when that happens.
We're going to think about any response we have on here, but I think we've got a final thought on the table.
Yeah, so just before I leave, there's a Latin phrase I like, carpe diem, seize the day. And just a few notes, guys, just embrace every day as it feels the last. Life is what you make it, just enjoy yourselves, you know? Just enjoy yourselves.
Thank you very much. I think that deserves a round of applause. All right, have we got to a natural end point? Do we want to maybe freshen up the Talkaoke table? Where are we at? Does anyone want to jump in? I'm all right. I can keep going for sure. So we've been talking about some heavy subjects. Do we want to talk about some lighter subjects as well? Are we going to try and make the heavy subjects lighter, as Margot says? Like, do we need to make more fun of mental health? Make it a little bit more exciting? Ken, whose birthday it is today? Happy birthday, everyone. What are your thoughts?
I guess there's two things. Firstly, I mean, there are authors, like, particularly thinking about American fiction, there are some...
We're going to pause you. So we're going to pause on American fiction, but we have got a few people leaving. So I'm going to Akbal, and I'm sorry, you have to remind me your name. Tanya. So Tanya, do you have a final thought?
Good night.
But what was that? I can't hear. I'm deaf.
I said good night.
Good night. Good night. That's a good final thought.
There's a solution to all of the problems out there in the world. Just got to find them. There is a solution.
Is there a solution to coronavirus? Have we got any more final thoughts? No, we haven't. That's okay. We can go back to Ken and American fiction.
I was just going to say, I mean, in American fiction, there is just a running strand of really, really good authors. From Miranda July, David Foster Wallace, who admittedly killed himself, and Donald Antrim, that really deal with suicide and mental health, but in a way that is comedic and really fun. I think like, the general point to take is I think that there is more of a conversation nowadays around mental health, is a really positive thing. I think the issue is, particularly, I worked a lot in my previous job with injured veterans who are notoriously, it's the sort of brotherly gung-ho attitude of just getting over things. They don't really talk about issues of mental health. And so it festers and it becomes a problem. And I remember also talking to my one of my tutors when I was at university a few years back, and he was saying, mental health is reported far more often at university, and I don't think that mental health issues around suicide and mental health have increased. It's just that people are having more of a conversation about it.
Okay. So mental health hasn't increased. We're talking about it more.
I mean, I do agree, but I think maybe that could be a challenge for us around the table, how to make it more light and more fun. And I think it would be a good thing. I mean, I just want to go back to when we did Talkaoke in a shopping centre in Bristol on Mental Health Awareness Day, which is the 8th of October. And it's really hard to get people to come down and sit down and talk about their mental health or mental health worries. But when we finished, literally every single person in the shopping centre that worked there came up to me and said, "Oh, that's a really good thing you did because I've got this person that, or I've suffered myself." So it's a weird thing is that we struggled to get the conversation going in Talkaoke, but then as soon as it finished, everybody was like very congratulatory about the whole thing and about how important I think it was to discuss. And that's all the security guards, all the shop workers, the people doing the loading bay, everyone just really appreciated what we're doing, but they didn't participate in the Talkaoke.
Okay, so we need to talk more, but we need to force ourselves to talk more.
I also think it's worth saying that I think to some extent or another, all of us at some point have suffered from mental health issues, be it depression in some way or another, or loneliness, or just a sort of general vibe of unhappiness. I don't think that these issues are outliers. I think they are really, really, really common.
Yeah, I like to say.
Here, it's all your fault.
See, life is what you make of it. See, life can throw you many curveballs and straight roads, but it's how you deal with it. It's like myself, I'm not blowing my own horn here, my life has actually quite been a bit of a bad one. But it's what you make of it makes the man that you are. So wherever you're thrown at, you make amends with it. You can go down, I've had very many bad situations in my life. You can it's a dark road, you can either sit and dwell in that road, or you pick yourself up. Now, I've somehow had the strength from picking myself up and not going down the road. Where in my family, suicide was common. I had a cousin that shot himself, just said he was going out to get the milk, and he was found dead in the house an hour later. Boom. If you don't know, he just got married, kids there. I was very young when I lost my mum. I was still young when I lost my dad. So I could have gone to a drug path life. And then, from a very young age, when you get responsibility thrown at you, you learn to harden up. And you learn to take life as is. And since then, that's how I've been taking it. But that's why I said I never get offended by things, because I've had everything possibly thrown at me in life, from trials and tribulations. And them trials is what makes you. And today has made me a very strong individual. And that's why I don't have a girlfriend, because I like to keep a strong life.
This is a whole other topic of conversation, I think. I'm going to let Liz go in on this.
I just want to ask Danny a question. Do you actually believe it's that simple, that if something's happening, you can just decide I'm not going to feel a certain way about it. I'm not going to take that dark path. I'm going to see the positive. Do you think it's that simple? Really that simple?
Just switch on.
I'm gonna go switch to Margot really quickly.
I really like what you said about that you don't have a girlfriend because you just need to stay on it, and I think there's a lot of kind of people who are like in love or wherever in relationships. Oh yeah, that's so great, but actually it's a cause of torment and endless frustration.
So many birthday cakes,
isn't it?
Yeah.
It can be, and it can actually swing. Just like being with another person so closely, you get that with friends, you definitely get it with your partners or whatever, like the frustration, how that drives you around the bend,
I've always put a door up. I've blocked off people with shittiness in life, so if people were trying to thingy, block them off, fuck them off. And that, you don't need that in life, you just go away, you don't chuck it. But that's how I've always been. I've been a humour in me, or the way I've handled life, is the way I've handled it. So, as you said, Liz, there, you chose. Many a times I've happened. Well, when my mum died, I was 15. So, I just sitting in the kitchen. Well, I just had to think. You know what? Yeah, my mum died. It's terrible. But I packed myself up, got my life sorted. Learned how to do the bills, the housework, because I come from a traditional family where my dad went out and worked, my mum stayed at home. She handled all the bills, handled all the utility. It's a life change. And when my dad died, I took over the house. So, and that's a big responsibility. But from this to this day, I've never been in debt, I've never been in arrears. I've just took life as it comes. And that's how you do it. So no matter how many small thing in life that might affect you, if it ain't going to affect you in 5 minutes, it's not going to affect you in 5 years. So do not worry. Fuck it. That's it. Gone. Have a drink.
Fuck it, have a drink. Natasha, you had a point over here. I'm going to take. There were some good things said in there.
So I might come across a bit of a funk.
A thump. You have to pause just say, what is a thump?
A nice word of a prick.
Oh, okay.
I might come across that, but I'm not. I'm
Okay.
just a reasonable person that likes everyone, gets on with everyone, but I piss everyone off.
Okay, well, I quite like a thump. Sounds like a friendly prick, so I'll take it.
Yeah, I guess that when I've through difficult things in life, I've kind of become more aware of what it's like to be vulnerable and kind of perhaps more a sympathetic person, rather than the hard person. I feel like, it's affected me that kind of that it's kind of, rather than it seeming alien that someone might be struggling, it seems like something I recognise and have been there. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got maybe hardships make you vulnerable, maybe they make you more aware, more softer, maybe they can make you both at the same time.
I don't know. To me, I used to be a very anxious person, but now I'm not anxious at all. And there's nothing really changed, except I just got used to life just rocking and rolling, and it just does what it does. Yeah, and I don't know. I didn't do anything different. It just I used to be much more anxious. Oh, am I going to be successful? Am I going to be able to afford this or that? And now I don't know. I've got way less money now. I'm in terrible debt, but I just don't care because I could be dead tomorrow. I could, but I've lived a life, and so the whole anxiety thing is just a complete sort of mirage, really, for me.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd just like to come back to what Dana said earlier about being in a relationship, and about sometimes there's so much stuff going on in your life that you don't have that luxury. Because obviously it's great to be in a relationship, it's great to have something that you share everyone with, the good times and the bad times and everything. It's 1,000 times better when you have someone to share it with. But to be in a relationship, you're kind of saying that I'm going to put the exerting who I actually really am at my core on the side, and I'm going to make it more important to share something with someone else, what we have in common. And but that really is a compromise, because the bits that are really absolutely me, that I completely define myself by, if I make them completely all important, I'm basically saying I'm not going to be in a relationship with anyone else because I'm making being me so important that there's no way anyone else could possibly share in that. Or else we say, okay, well, I'm at a bit now where I'm strong enough and secure enough in who I am and who I believe myself to be, that I'm willing to sort of blur the edges a bit and share, dissolve my boundaries and be with someone else. And they are two different things. And it's a really good point you raised earlier, I think, which is that I don't think they are really compatible. And sometimes one's appropriate and other times another's appropriate. And I mean, some people go obsessively, they start a second relationship before they finish the first relationship. And we all know those people. And that's basically an insecurity, and they're not really willing to face up to who they are and to really define who they are and to exert those boundaries.
Brilliant. So we think maybe you sacrifice some of yourself to have a relationship. Do people agree with this? People disagree?
It reminds me of something my very dear friend who's no longer with us said. Like when I was complaining about my girlfriend, he just said to me, "Well, just think of all the regular sex you're getting. Is it worth it?" And I couldn't disagree with him.
Okay, so maybe we sacrifice something for the benefits that a relationship gives.
Yeah, and I think the thing about the torment of being in a relationship is, like, to me, partly what you both said, which is, you know, how much of yourself, the self-sufficient self, I feel like that always is in a battle with, like, how much you share and how much you retain as yourself, or are you just a selfish prick? What the fuck is wrong with you? Can't you just communicate that to the person? The person's listening. They're just there. Fuck, they even love you. So what the fuck is your problem? But there's a lot of swearing. But but it's like, when you're with somebody and you know each other really well and you really kind of making that commitment to each other, and then you just cannot switch off the integrity that is just you, that makes the core of you, and you're unable to translate that to something that can be shared by two people. Do you have to sacrifice what you are to be with that other person? Do you have to dilute it? Okay,
so we have relationships, the sacrificing the self.
How about that?
We've got some sewing going on. I'm going to come to Mikey, but I want to know about what's going on here.
She's sewing while you're talking.
No, I'm actually listening and making something related to what you're doing. It's like all processed. Exactly. I'm processing what you're saying, and actually it's quite interesting conversation. It's really hard because our society in Occidental mind is really about kind of finding the debunking communities and debunking links between people is actually okay for the sake of staying yourself, but in the end, I don't know, it depends. Values are really fluid, I guess. It's hard to say, to have integrity with yourself when you actually are interested with different experiences and etc. So I don't think. I think it changes with people you meet, basically.
Yourself is your culmination of experiences. So there's no point saying we shouldn't have a relationship because that makes you.
I mean, if I knew all the things that I know now about relationships, I would still be in all of those relationships.
Okay. Anyone want to take that on board?
Listen to your thoughts. Spend 5 minutes thinking what you're thinking. Listen to what you're saying to yourself, and then you'll probably be able to sort yourself out.
Okay, so listen to yourself and you'll be able to sort yourself out.
Yeah, I just think that, Mike said, I think it just really brings home to us that point from earlier. It's just like, how important is regular sex?
Okay. It is a good point. How important is regular sex? Either with a partner or yourself.
We all have needs, so regular sex is important, and it's good for the mental health.
Oh, that is true. It's good for mental health.
I just think we live in this paradoxical world where there's all these demands which don't actually fit together. So it's really hard for everybody. This is why we're in this mental health crisis, because we let's talk to Danny.
I think that's isn't that in the rules of Talkaoke?
Yeah.
Margaret, you've been, I don't know why, but I've been drawn to you.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, no, you've got the fidget toy. I mean, I don't have to have sex because I have fidget toy, and I just press, you know, that I'm okay now. But you know, and I think sometimes there's too much emphasis placed on sex in a relationship. That's my view.
Okay, so do we think there's too much sex in relationships? Like too much emphasis put on sex in relationships?
No. I think realistically, a relationship, if it's a partner relationship, then you have sex. I don't think there is a stigma. You either, you know, some couples are once every 6 weeks. Some couples are every day. Trevor's once a year. But I don't actually. We're actually a nation of prudes, I think. We don't talk about sex. So I don't understand when people say there's too much stigma, because we actually don't really speak about it. But I do think a healthy relationship is that you can go home, be yourself, because, you know, wherever you are, you're putting on this front, that front. You know, when you're at work, you're someone different to when you're socialising. When you're with someone, that should be the person that you're just you with. And, you know, your sex life should be something that you enjoy together. That's what sex is about, enjoying it with someone and having that closeness. And it doesn't have to, sex can be all sorts of things, you know, it's not always just about penetration. A sexual relationship is all sorts of enjoyment together.
So we got a lot of comments on the table, but it's a good point. So you know we're talking about couples, talking about relationship, we're talking about what it is to have a sex life. Where do we want to go from here, guys?
Well, I mean, I just want to link it up to the point that we made earlier that Danny made about straight pride, because I think sometimes it's hard for like men to just express their sexuality and just say, without coming across as like, you know, like a sex pest or something like that, to actually express their sexual attraction or their sexual desires in a way that is just part of the flow of life.
All right, Danny, how can straight pride work?
Gang bang in a big field.
Okay, so is straight pride just a massive orgy?
Yeah, I just want to come down to this. The basic difference between sex and not sex is, because someone said it's more than just sex, but in biology, sexual reproduction means that you have two individuals of different chromosomal types that creates a new organism. Asexual reproduction is something creates it off their own. So like we talked earlier about the LGBTQIA, now the A in that stands for asexual. Now if you're asexual, it means you're not actually interested in relating to another person in a sexual way, which is completely different, it seems, from the LGB thing, which is all about who you relate to in that sexual way.
New enjoyment in some form, whether it's.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is, it's all about your belief in your own existence as an independent entity is totally different from your relationship with another person sexually.
Well, okay,
it's two totally different things.
I think so. We've come kind of full circle to the like Emmett's point about LGB, and then other.
Mm-hmm. Straight pride is what we celebrate within ourselves. So we might instead of having a rainbow flag, we just get a grey flag.
Just a beige, a nice khaki flag. Have we got any other thoughts about straight pride and making
Because it's a shame that Tanya's gone, because in Germany they don't have gay pride, they have love parade, which is just celebrates love in all its forms, whether it's, you know, whether you love a cucumber or you love women, multiple women, or if you love, you know, whoever, man, animal, dog. So love parade, everyone can join in.
And do you think that's
if they love?
Do we think that's only a positive thing? Does it take away from pride? Does it add to pride?
I think I've forgotten about that, because yeah, you're completely right. It's a love parade, and I think it's a really nice thing of, you know, just looking at what brings us together as opposed to what separates us from the others. And of course, like if you've got a cause that you're fighting for, maybe it's not in mainstream. You have to kind of make a big point about it before it becomes normalized, and then you can celebrate the togetherness. But I think love is just such a good thing to be celebrating. But I would still say that intimacy and partnership with
in a relationship extends beyond beyond sex, and I think I sometimes feel there's an expectation that if you're in a relationship you have to have sex with that other person, and this is how frequently we think, but yeah, I don't think that's as straightforward as that.
There's something very weird happening to Matt. Interference. Someone's getting a text. An SMS. Okay, yeah, we're going to go for... did I SMS? That's a text.
Someone said that to me today. It was very strange.
My idea of straight pride, right?
Also, Danny, this is your final thought.
Right, my final thought of straight pride. Every straight man wear a suit, right? Walk down the street with a briefcase, wave the grey flag, buy a pint for each other, go to the betting shop, and get the horses, bet on them, and yeah, listen to Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson? Willie Nelson's not gay, come on. Donald Trump can be on the front and that. He's the epiphany of the straight man. He's got all the money and that. The women love him. He fights for everyone.
Okay, so we've got an example of straight pride. We've got the ultimate heterosexual man as Donald Trump. Hold on, we've got. It's on the table, guys. It's not for me to say. Have we got any responses? This is your final thoughts. Have you got any response to what we've discussed about tonight? Anything you'd like to throw into the mix as we end Talkaoke for the night?
Actually, I think it was quite a bunch of conversation that was overlapping. It was quite interesting how I don't know, the degree of like seriousness was like all the time changing. To be honest, I don't have anything ultra clever to say about everything. Just like I really enjoyed the night talking like this.
He's got a problem with that.
I'm going to go over to Liz. A final thought over here.
Firstly, before my final thought, tonight's been really good. There's been a really good conversation. My final thought would be on depression. That I feel this group as well are getting low, feeling low, confused with depression. Depression is when you could have had the greatest day full of laughter and joy and then go home and feel like your world is ending. Depression is different to feeling low and choosing the positive path.
Excellent final thoughts.
Just want to say that I've really enjoyed listening to everyone, so well done.
Fantastic. Have we got a final thought over here at all? No. That's all right, don't worry.
I'm quite entertained by this thought of a grey flag for straight pride.
I think what you're talking about there is not straight pride, it's dick pride. If Donald Trump's going to be the flag waver. I mean, I think there is lots of different kinds of intimacy, and one of them is sexual intimacy. What's that?
And everyone's shouting hate towards Donald Trump. If you love him, you won't hate him. He will disappear.
Okay, this is a very heavy final thought that's kind of sort of fit itself into Mikey's. I'm going to let Mikey have one more small comment and then we're moving on.
No, I just wanted this point about equity rather than equality and helping those people that need the extra help. And putting Rick in a hole as well, I think, is a really important point. And obviously, being in the middle, you can't make it. But I would like to just repeat that one.
Thank you. That was a very smart person who said that. I don't know who it was, though. They've gone now.
Yeah, and kind of coming back to what you were saying about Love Parade. I mean, maybe we can love an orange, namely Donald Trump. But genuinely, I do think that. But also, I think genuinely, though, the issue with things around the ideas of love parades is that it ignores the fact that things like Pride came out of the ferment of oppression, and that yes, you want to reach a point where there is no need to have Pride parades, where we can love everyone, equally, but that's not the case. You look you look globally at the number of countries that have in recent years rolled back on their discrimination against the LGBT community, and it's outstanding. It feels like it's moving backwards rather than forwards, and so I think that is prioritised first.
Okay, so a nicely well-formed final thought. We're going to go wave goodbye to Natasha. Wave goodbye. And we've got Margot for a final thought.
I don't really have any final thought, to be honest. It's been really great tonight. It's been really great. I would like to introduce my fidget toy, which is a soya bean. And
not peas.
Soya bean.
It's a soya bean. It came from China. I hope it didn't come with coronavirus.
It took that long to get there. Emmett,
I just love the idea of sort of Donald Trump and Ricky Nelson being summed up in the same breath, because they are the most opposed beings in this planet. Because Ricky Nelson is someone who believes passionately in everyone's sexuality as they wish, in everyone's race as they wish, completely against all oppression, completely for the exploration of every individual. And then you have Donald Trump, who's the antithesis of everything of that, and just believes in the completely stamping of an iron boot on a human face forever for the end of time, in order for the benefit of the military-industrial complex. And I just think the idea that the two of them are the same side of a coin is ridiculous, and you need to wake up.
So that was a dramatic ending final thought for Talkaoke. And I think we might have to continue this conversation at the end of Talkaoke, because before we end, we need to. Mikey's going to overrule me, but then I'm going to take the bag back.
No, this is no final thoughts. I just want to say, if you want more Talkaoke, come to the Natural History Museum tomorrow, where Evie's going to be our star performer. So we need to protect her voice for tomorrow. From 6 o'clock onwards, and Margot's going to jump in a bit later on, apparently. But if you can't make that, come down to the Barge House Oxo Tower on Saturday, where we're going to have another Talkaoke from 6:30 to 7:30. That's going to be a more male affair with me in the middle, so we can talk about Donald Trump and having pints and stuff like that, and play some William Nelson in the background and talk about how shit West Ham are and stuff like that. So that's on Saturday, so come down to that. If you are coming down to that, message me, because it costs 20 quid to get in, but I can get in for free. So, yeah.
Message Mikey. Okay, go on then.
Instead of saying you hate someone, love them. The more you love them, it phases out.
You know what? That is delightful. I think we need to give a round of applause to the bar staff. Round of applause. Round of applause to Mikey for bringing it here. For all of our Talkaoke people. And finally, for you guys for coming to Talkaoke. Thank you very much.